A while ago, we published a video on DashFight's channel that highlights why you, well not exactly you, but someone, why they suck at Dragon Ball FighterZ. The video has proper reasoning and everything, don't hesitate to check it out later. That message was pretty powerful. A player is bad at a fighting game because they don't put enough effort into consciously learning title-related tricks. But what if we try to look at the situation differently? The effort may be quite decent, but the skill set you're trying to develop is simply hard. And this is not only true about one fighting game. The fighting genre is not your easy walk among flowers and butterflies. The opponents try to KO your character, and you try to KO theirs. It's intense. Still, what are the hardest parts of this process? I mean, the process of practicing a fighting game and playing it. This video is exactly about that, and we're going to be highlighting the 8 hardest steps of the process. And this short but tough list may help you direct your focus to those dimensions, or maybe even understand why you're not progressing as quickly as you would like to. And no, it's not because you suck. Difficulty with blocking has 2 parts. Oh, how many categories will we have in the end? One is about the mindset of a beginner, who rushes into offense while defense mechanics quite often fall into their blind spot. And the other part is about the frustration of a much more experienced player who kind of knows the game, knows how to block, but still gets opened up regularly, leading to a loss of health and even the whole round. You can't block forever, they say. I'm not sure who they are, but they are certainly right. Except that your block is not flawless, no pun intended. Except that it is hard. Let's start from the beginning. I don't have clear stats, and hope my editor will not make me find those numbers, but I'm pretty sure many newcomers to the fighting genre are like this. Where are my punch and super move buttons? I want to kick their you-know-what. That is pretty understandable, as we have a fighting game after all. The attacking energy is here to enjoy, so why bother with defense? Changing this approach is not as easy as it seems. Nothing really difficult is in there if you think about this theoretically, but in the middle of a fight, you want to use your best options, and for beginners, it's rarely a patient defense. CPU matches don't make the situation simpler, as it's easier to just mash chaotically in them. Blocking for beginners is difficult, but essential. Advanced players, on the other hand, know quite well how, but when it does not work properly, and it happens, yeah, you can't deny this, those opening hits land combos directly into the player's soul. Why can't we exaggerate a little bit? Practice makes perfect in both cases. The beginner should understand the importance of blocking and intentionally add this skill to their arsenal. For the experienced players, it's more of the mental practice to let yourself keep improving in the blocking department. This aspect is kind of opposite of blocking. You use your string of normals to try and find an opening in the blocks of your opponent. Learning this thing is easy and difficult at the same time. Strings are not long, and just a little training will help you remember them, if you look into some sources and just use ready-made notations. On the other hand, if you decide to form your own cool thing, you will need to dive into frame data. Yeah, we have a video on this topic too, and make your brain do the mathematical part. Is this a video game or homework? The reason why we add block strings to the most difficult aspects comes from building effective strings, with all sorts of confusing mix-ups, and from proper finishers for them. That part of being strongly negative after finishing a big move may be quite painful if you don't learn it properly. A block string that brings you to getting hit and destroyed. Even quite advanced players should pay decent attention to this part. Making links between their button pressing with one string between a few strings, yep, simply safe. It's probably a part almost everyone agrees with. Combos are difficult, regardless of your skill level, to be honest. Beginners have to deeply comprehend this concept of attacks being connected in specific ways, like from normals to specials and then to supers, with O key to get an opening and start your next combo. Arguably, the hardest part in this process is to realize that no, the game does not provide you with the best combos for your character. It's your personal creative job to unleash their power in the most effective way possible. Copying someone's discoveries is not a bad idea. Not experimenting with them, trying to adapt the basics of your playstyle, this is kind of a mistake. The difficulty also comes from the variety of available options, from the desire to make our combos as long and damaging as possible, and eventually from overthinking this aspect. Pros quite often drop combos at esports events because of the tension. Beginners struggle to basically make sense of the infinite possibilities within one moveset. Everyone in between, or okay, almost everyone, actively tries to optimize their knowledge of elementary but effective combos and their desire to perform touch of death after every possible opening. This balance is probably the hardest stuff in such a parade of difficulties. We at DashFight try to make the combo aspect a little less difficult, with many practical guides on our main platform, DashFight.com. The most popular games are there, and the amount of info is getting bigger. May it boost your combos and general success. What about moving a bit away from the practical in-game stuff to some general aspects? In fact, they are essential for succeeding in the fighting genre, and oh man, they can be hard. Persistence is something you need to be good at basically everywhere in life, from learning new stuff to even building relationships. If you do something regularly, you naturally get better at it and progress in it. The problem with fighting games, well, it's not actually a problem. It's just one of the key features of the whole gaming culture that we have so many titles to enjoy. Jumping between them is part of the experience. And when you do that in story-driven games, it's okay. One day you enjoy this adventure, and the next day you dive into a new one. The releases of new fighting games don't happen too often, but they still happen. And the community gets overexcited and massively migrates to that new entertainment, which is okay, but time and patience are needed to master your previous title and unleash your true power in it. But you haven't achieved this and are already playing something else. Add to this a huge library of already existing games. Oh, I've never played BlazBlue. They say it's very good. Distracting factors include also the games beyond the fighting genre. Who doesn't want to try out that new critically acclaimed release? All of this may lead to an instability of efforts, and you suddenly don't get as many wins as you want to. Persistence is crucial, and yes, it's a really hard aspect. On the other hand though, will the points in our list contradict each other? Perhaps a little bit, because things in life are not always straightforward, and gaming is a part of life. Anyway, being persistent is good and everything, but it doesn't make any sense to stick to something that is generally not for you. Before taking the persistence route, it is essential for a fighting game player to find their style in the vast and multi-dimensional genre. That includes characters. Someone chooses one specific archetype and picks it up throughout many games. Someone tends to make their roster as big as possible to be prepared for different matchups. And it includes games themselves, as popular titles with thousands of dollars of esports money is not necessarily the best for your unique personality. The variety of options becomes mind-blowing if we dig into various fighting styles, practice habits, preferred equipment, and basically everything else. The variety is a difficulty on its own. How do you get experience with so much stuff to tell if you like it or not? How do you know when it's a moment to settle with the persistence thing and turn on the power of patience? It is especially difficult because no one except you knows the answer. It's an active exploration, and general tips may not work specifically for your style, but finding it and eventually settling with it is a must-take step to be good at a fighting game. To be human is generally awesome, but it has not even downsides, but let's say distinguishing features. And having all sorts of periods in our life is one of those. Sometimes we are full of energy. Everything feels to be easily achievable. In terms of fighting games, this means blocking effectively, getting quick openings with your block strings, landing your combos flawlessly, and basically just winning matches. Then there are some opposite periods, when we want to stay in bed for long hours, grumpy and melancholy, or be lazy all day and watch anime instead of working. Everyone has their down periods manifested differently, and when they happen, they certainly affect performance and success in fighting games. No, it's not necessarily getting depressed or feeling really down in your fighting matches. It might feel generally okay, but your training progress, even the whole competing mood is just, it's just down. And it's pretty difficult to get through such periods. If you can't win, drop combos, and feel annoyed by the game, the opponent, and yourself, just take a deep breath. Distract yourself for a while and still be persistent. Even knowing and accepting these periods makes their effort on your fighting game progress significantly less pronounced. Fully avoid down periods? It's hardly possible. Another tough aspect is to evolve as a player. Like, okay, it's pretty obvious thing to say, we must get better. But hear me out. It's hard to improve your skills, but it's much more difficult to change throughout this growth, feel these changes within you, and follow them, abandoning some previous habits and even achievements. We all change in life. New experiences open something fresh in our personalities, and at some point, you are seemingly the same person, but at the same time, kind of different. I'm not going to make stuff overcomplicated with psychology and everything, no worries. Let's just say that being persistent in your practice and searching for your style has a spiral-like progression, with a clever combination of repetitive actions and various experiments. It is difficult to evolve, not just follow the path of improvement, as to evolve means experiencing drops in your results. Almost like initiating your down period with your own hands and then living through it. Emotions come at every stage of your fighting game evolution. Beginners are annoyed when they cannot do something. At the intermediate level, players may feel frustrated because of a lack of progress. Advanced and pro players also experience negative emotions, and they may even be stronger due to the effort invested in reaching so far. And dealing with emotions after losing a single match, oh, it's kind of a daily therapy if you play fighting games. Living through negative emotions is hard, and there is no escape from them in this genre, unless you are a master yogi, and then we all require your guidance. But also, positive emotions are difficult in a tricky way. Being excited about some victories may lead to a lighthearted attitude to practice and new fights. Then you fall into losing because of that. And falling from joy to annoyance is even more painful. One video on DashFight's channel is fully dedicated to toxicity in fighting games. Spreading toxicity is a destructive behavior, and that is a direct consequence of not dealing with emotions properly, which is a hard but rather inevitable part of playing fighting games. Is it even possible to be good at a competitive game without controlling your emotions? Well, it's time for me to stop there, and thank you for watching till the end of the video. What aspects of playing fighting games are the hardest for you personally? Let us know in the comments, and we'll see you in the next video.